All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana Scalfo. I am the host of the CHP podcast and also the director of coaching. You guys are probably tired of me by now. Today, I'm here with Kaleb Yates. I had the pleasure of being a volunteer at the Hybricon games this year. I just snuck on and stalked people last year. But this year, I had the distinct pleasure of being a volunteer and being involved in the scoring. So I got to watch Kaleb both days. Kaleb did get second place, and it was just really, really cool to see him smash all of these events. I mean, you're kind of a tall guy, so it was just really cool to watch you smoothly move through all of these different obstacles and all these different events throughout the weekend. And I was like, I just need to talk to this guy. So Kaleb, hello and welcome.
How you doing? So so Hybricon Games was a lot of fun. It was the second year in a row that I've done it. Last year was a little bit of a chaotic outcome. I don't know if you were there for it, but this year ran significantly more smooth. And I was going in like more prepared this year than I was last year. So I was excited for it all.
That's awesome. Now I know you do a lot of Hyrox. I know you were just on a team, like a relay with Kris, who you just crewed for Tough Mudder.
Yeah.
It's toughest, excuse me. And I know you've just been involved in the hybrid space, Spartans, all kinds of stuff. I think you just did the grit games potentially.
Yes.
Yeah. So like you're in the hybrid space. But just tell me a little bit about like how you ended up here. I feel like that's
so it's a long journey, honestly. So I was in the military, and when I got out, I wanted some kind of like competition in my life because I had played sports most of my life. And then getting out, I was like, okay, now I don't really have anything going for me. Let's find something. And then I found Spartan racing. And then that kind of sparked that competitive nature in me. And I was like, okay, let's do Spartan racing. That was 2013, 2014 was my first race. Did that for 7-8 years, and then ultimately came to find the hybrid like fitness side of things. So Hyrox, DEKA. My first Hyrox was 2021.
awesome.
And then from that point moving forward, it was like, okay, this is what I was built for. I'm not built for Spartan races. I'm not built for running against these kids that are 150 pounds while I'm sitting here at 210 pounds. I'm like, this is crazy. So I found that. I started getting strong. And then my first race with Hyrox, I was like, oh, the sleds are going to be nothing. Like it's going to be cake. I've played collegiate football. I'm going to be able to push these sleds like it's nothing. And my first time getting behind that sled, it was humbling. I was like, my gosh, this is much heavier than I anticipated. And at that point, I was like, this is what I want to do from this point moving forward, was just the Hyrox space of things, because I'm a fast runner. I'm a strong person. And I can do just about everything there is. There's nothing that I would back down to when it comes to just any kind of competition.
I could tell.
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
enjoy it.
Like I was talking to a couple of people about how, for me at least, like, you know, coming from maybe a more standard hybrid space, which is just like people who lift heavy and do Ironmans, being able to watch a sport evolve like Hyrox or Spartan or any sport, you end up finding that there's these like body types that do best, or people at a certain body weight do best in that sport, just given the specific demands of the sport or whatever. Like if you look at a CrossFitter, they're usually around the same height. They usually have the same build. And it's always really fun for me to see a competition like Hybricon, where I think the guys did such a great job bringing together a huge mix of athletes from a ton of different backgrounds, and then putting down a bunch of workouts that were pretty diversified. And it's really fun for me to see people who come in looking like outliers and they smash everything like that. That's just so fun for me, because I'm like, yes, this is it. Like, this is the vibe of hybrid. Like, just someone being like, no, I can do both. Like, I can do all of it. Like, I love that. So it was just really, really fun to see you compete across the board, as it's so easy to be like, oh, well, this event's going to go to this guy because he's this size. And you were like, nah, no, obstacle course is my jam. No. Yeah. Full story, but no.
You think you got it. I mean, 235 pounds. I was the heaviest guy there that weekend. Me and Aston, I think he was just a couple pounds lighter than me. But going into it, I knew the run was going to be like my weakness. I was going into it with a knee injury. It's unknown. I don't know what it is, but it locks up on me. I don't know if it was a hip injury and an IT injury that just kind of sparked it. Had a left ankle injury about 2 months prior, so I think it just kind of went over to my right leg. So going into it, and then going into it about mile 4, my knee locked up, and I still had the weight vest on. I was like, I have to walk, unfortunately, at this point.
Yeah.
Dropped the weight vest, and as soon as I dropped the weight vest, I felt fine. Like I was cruising at a good pace the rest of the time, but I think the weight vest just put a lot of strain on my knee.
Yeah.
I came in almost last in the run. I think it was 17 out of 21 in the run. I was like, all right, time to make up some ground on everything else from this point moving forward. So, and that's what I did. I was top 5 in just about everything else.
Yeah.
Outside of pugil sticks, because that was a little bit of kerfuffle on that one. I dislocated my pinky and got punched in the nose. Yeah.
I missed that. I was not there for that. I just saw you in the drag event where you were dragging people out of the ring.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, that was, I told Hunter going into it, I was like, man, whoever's hooked up against me, I'm sorry for them. Like they're going to go for an unwanted ride. Like that's what's going to happen.
It happened every time.
Yeah. Aston put up a fight. Aston, the other heavy guy, I was like, okay, this is going to be the fight because we weigh the same.
Yeah.
It's going to come down who has the better form. And I knew he was a strong guy going in based off what I saw in regionals. But I think it was 12 seconds when I ended up like getting him out of the ring. Everyone else was 4 seconds.
I know. I was like, oh wait, like is this gonna be evenly? Nope.
Nope.
Nope. So, talking about, technique for something like that, a lot of people were either intimidated by it or, had never seen it before and couldn't figure out how to approach it, which was the drag where you guys were attached to each other via harnesses, and had to drag each other out of the ring, or at least drag each other across the line. Even something like that, did you find that kind of knowing how to mentally approach it, given your background, given your competitive background, not just your body weight, but knowing how to actually manhandle your opponent in the ring, do you think that really helped, or like how did you approach it mentally?
I think mentally, like I had Carly come up to me and says, I noticed that when you were getting ready to go in, you were just like grunting and growling. I was like, you have to get like primal, like you have to like boost your testosterone right before you go. You can't go in there just being friends with them. Like you have to go in there ready to rip their heads off. And that's kind of what it was for me. It was like my thought process was pull this person, don't let them pull you, don't look weak. And that was the whole thought process. And I told Austin afterwards, I was like, there was a reason why I pulled them all out of the ring, because if I would have let them pull me, in my imagination, there was a puppy on the other side. And if they got to the puppy, they were going to kill it. So I had to pull them away from the puppy. So
I
know. I was like, I can't let them get to that puppy. So I just kept going.
Oh my God. It all makes sense now.
Yeah.
I would have killed somebody if I had that in my head. So
exactly.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you just have to get primal with it. You have to just dig your hands and your feet in and just go. I mean, that's what it was. Like if you saw me before the events, like right before I went, I was on my own, just like focused.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's cool, for me at least, I work with such a wide variety of athletes that either come from single sport backgrounds or multi-sport, but it is really cool for me to work with people that come from team sport, football, rugby, or like highly competitive backgrounds, because the mental focus around competition, it's something that you learn, it's something that you develop, but I feel like it's just so cool to work with athletes that already have that developed, because you guys are just like on another level. And it's so funny, like watching other people, even Emily Lugman, Carly, like Warpath, that's what they call her. Like it's just a certain zone.
Yeah.
And it's intimidating as shit if you don't know what's going on, which is just that competitor getting themselves into the headspace of I'm going to win. And where do you feel like you've always had that, or do you feel like that got developed in a certain part of your sort of sport background, or you think it was developed in the military? Like what do you think, you've just always kind of had it?
I didn't have it so much in high school. I think it really got developed in college and then the military, because I noticed when I started doing Spartan races after I got out, I was like, I have a different mindset when I'm lining up on a a start light now. Like I used to do track and I wasn't like hyper focused or anything. I would just be laughing and joking with people around me. But 2014, I was like, I noticed myself getting a little more hyper focused, and then going a little further in when you're going to like Hyrox and DEKA, and I was on Broken Skull Challenge. And then I noticed it at Broken Skull Challenge the most when I would go up against somebody. It was just like, I'm not going to let this other person win. Like it was me versus them. This one-on-one stuff, it's always been something that I've enjoyed because it puts you against one other person. It's like, I like team stuff, but I also don't like depending on other people when it comes to that stuff. So it's like, if I fail, I fail.
Mhm.
Like not if I failed, the other people around me failed with me.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. It was like, I'm ready to just go after it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main driving force behind it all was just the mindset I got from the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
Just don't lose.
Yeah. Don't lose, don't fuck up. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
You fuck up, you're dead. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it's easy to joke about, but you know, when you're in it, when you're going through that training, when you're going through that kind of, you know, everyone relies on you, your whole team relies on you. You can't let anyone down. It's not like a game where, you know, if your partner misses the ball, it's like, oh no, I lost a point, guess we'll get it back next round. Like you're literally training so that no one messes up because no one can get hurt. Like
exactly.
It's a different, really different mindset. So I totally get how that would change coming out of it, coming into a sport again, but then having that kind of like extra level of focus where it's like, look, I've decided this is what's going to happen. And I'm going to make it happen. Like,
yeah, exactly. You have to just have that mindset, and a lot of people don't, and you can very quickly tell who does and who doesn't have that mindset.
I think
especially something like Hybricon games.
Yeah. It was cool to see, you know, there were a couple really standout athletes to me, not even so much from their performances like in the events themselves, like physically, but the way that they threw themselves at everything. Like Jake, straight up, I think broken ankle.
Jake was the biggest surprise of the entire weekend for a lot of people.
Dude, yeah. Jake and Jack, but definitely just like I was so impressed. The man like would hobble up to the start line of something and then his limp would go away.
Yeah, he turned it off, and that's an athlete for you. That's what it is. And him and I roomed together. Me, him, and Cole and Marshall. We all roomed together. So when he destroyed his ankle after the run, he came back to the room, and we all looked at him and we're like, "Dude, how are you going to perform the rest of the weekend?" And somehow he managed to just turn the pain off and just kept going.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
He said to me, he was like, you know, I got first in the run. Or he got first or something like super high.
He got first in the run, first in the swim.
Yeah.
So that put him up there.
Yeah, and he was like, you know, normally I would have maybe been like, I should protect my ankle. He's like, but being in first all the way through that first day, he was like, I kind of just got this like full send mindset where I understand. I get it.
Yeah.
It was just impressive as hell. A lot of you guys had ankle issues from that trail run, it looked like.
Yeah, so Aston Dommel, he actually broke his ankle and competed the rest of the weekend. I don't know if you saw that on Austin's story, but he actually broke his ankle on the run.
You could barely tell on him either. Like,
yeah, he tied me on the tire flip. Like
we both got 21
seconds. And the only reason he beat me was because the first tire he flipped it 1 second faster than me. But that was really it. But the fact that he did all of that with broken ankle is just mind-blowing to me, that the athletes that can come out and do that kind of stuff and just put everything on the back burner and just be like, I'm here to compete, nothing else is going to stop me.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I joke that like anyone who I've ever worked with who's come from football or the military, there's a few other sports that are like that, rugby, I have to like demand that they tell me if they're injured because they just won't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're stupid. We don't want to be taken out. Like it's us against them. I don't want to be the reason we lose. So we're gonna just go in there with a concussion and a broken arm.
Yeah. It's like, you know, my runs have been a little bit slower lately since I broke my ankle. You're what?
Excuse me, what?
You never thought to mention. But yeah, no, it's really, really fascinating and it's really cool because I think I don't know, a lot of what we do as coaches is like trying to get your athlete in the right mindset to have the performance that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And for endurance and ultras and like really long distance stuff, you kind of have to get your athlete into this very zen place. They have to be
Yeah.
okay with whatever happens because so much can happen. I mean, just like I'm sure with Kris, during the 24 hours of World's Toughest Mudder, things just happen and you can't be bothered by them. You can't,
Yeah.
you have to just keep going. But for something that's sub 60, you can't slow down. Yeah, you can't be bothered, but you also can't dial it down because if your opponent doesn't, but you do, you lose. So it's like, it's interesting, trying to help bring athletes who lean more in one direction, like their natural kind of endurance, go with the flow, and pulling them into something that's, they don't get to do that. That's why I think Kris is so impressive, because she just has that go mode. Tell me a little bit about, go ahead.
Yeah, so during World Toughest, I was actually getting ready to go there, but she started out and she was like, "I'm going to hit 115 this year." I was like, "Go for it!" And we were talking to a lot of people. They said 100 is very doable, and that was before they found out about the penalty laps. There were so many penalty laps. One of the penalty laps was over 3/4 of a mile, and it was failed every single time by a lot of people. It was the grappler. It was like you started down at the bottom of the hill and you had to throw a grappling hook at the top of the hill, but it was so far that no one was able to get the hook to the top. So pretty much everyone was failing that. So they were having to run an extra almost mile every lap.
Which is insane. Yeah. So she probably did 115 miles.
Yeah. And then on lap 2, so 10 miles to about 25 miles, she goes, "I'm throwing up, my stomach's hurting." And I'm like, "Let me see what I can do." So every lap she was going around, I was going around finding like anything to help her stomach, like Pepto-Bismol, Advil, something. I was like, "What do you want?" And I wasn't able to rest either because I'm sitting here trying to help her the entire time.
It's ultra for you, yeah.
Yeah, so I was running around. I probably ran 15 miles that night, just running around trying to get stuff for her, getting out on course, finding out what she's needing before she gets back to the pit. But yeah, it was a big show of mental toughness for her because she was just not in the right physical place the first 25 miles. Then Kris does what she does, and she just picked it up after 25 miles. She was like, "Yeah, I'm having fun now." Every time she came in, she was smiling, enjoying life. And it was just, she was loving it. We went and bought a bunch of baby food for her because that's what she eats for her ultras.
Yeah.
And I would say 3/4 of them had banana in it. And 2 laps in, she goes, "I don't want anything with banana." I was like, "Dang it." Like, what are we going to do?
Oh no. So, does anyone have any baby food?
Yeah. So we just had to make do with what we had. And I was like going around to a lot of different tents, like, "Hey, what kind of food do you have?" And I was just getting as much as I can for her. And I had like this platter set up for her. When she comes in, I was like, "Pick what you want." It was like 10 different options for her. So she ended up having, as many options as available for her.
That's awesome. That just shows that you're just a spectacular crew, because crewing is hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it is not easy. I was not expecting it to be as hard as it was.
Yeah. Is this your first time crewing someone on an ultra type event, or is it just
a 24-hour event?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was tough. So that was a test for me because I'm going to crew for her during the Barkley next year.
Oh, sweet.
So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But hopefully I did well enough where she'd be like, "Yeah, you can crew for me."
I mean,
because I always wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah. Sounds like you smashed it. That's kind of the cool thing about like those ultra events too. I was just chatting with one of my clients about it. He just did a Spartan ultra and he had stomach issues the whole time. And one of the big things I stressed to him for preparation was I was just like, have every fuel option imaginable. Like, have anything ever, always, like just all of it, all the food. That's all that matters. Just have all the food. And he was like, "Yeah, I think I consumed almost like 3,000 calories." So even though he was constantly having stomach issues for the entire race, he managed to finish. He managed to finish in like 7 hours. So it's like, I just always want to stress to people, I'm like, have your plan A, your plan B, your plan C. Like, you don't know how you're going to feel 12 hours into that race if you're just going to be like, if I eat another banana, I'm going to die. So,
sometimes you just got to force it down. Like,
yeah.
Even if you don't want it, you just got to force it.
Yep. Yeah. You're eating for later. You're eating for you.
Yeah.
Eventually. It's just getting it down so that hopefully by mile 25 you rally. Because your body's pretty resilient. It just, you can't ignore it either. No, that's crazy. Crewing for an event like that is just absolutely nuts. They always say, like, couples crewing one another is like the quickest way to, it's like canoeing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like the
It's
quickest
like
way to have
moving.
an argument.
Yeah. Or moving a house. Like
Oh, yeah.
moving. Apparently that's a big one too.
Yeah. And I've never, thankfully my partner and I are both coaches. So like if one of us gets frustrated, the other one's just like, okay, well, what's going on?
Yeah.
But,
You know what to do at that point.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't make us invincible either. But
Yeah.
no, I think that's just super cool. So talking about, your year, I know that the Hyrox season just started. Is Hyrox going to be a big part of the picture for you going into your competitive season this year?
Yes and no. So I think Hybricon games really kicked off to me the fun aspect of 2-day events.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I talked to Cole about this because he does 2-day events too, like Go Ruck games and Rally in the Valley and stuff like that. So I've signed up for Rally. I'm going to try to get into Go Ruck games this year. I was invited the first year, wasn't able to make it due to flight issues. So I wasn't able to get invited back for the second year. So third year is where I'm hoping to get back into that. So 3 2-day events next year, and then Hyrox whenever they pop up in the general area.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to do, so Dallas is coming up next weekend. I'm going to do that one for sure because that's my backyard.
Yeah.
And then the 2 that I'm looking at doing right now are LA and Miami. Just the other 2 Hyroxes, just to keep competitive.
Yeah.
I've noticed that if I get away from competition, that my level of competition goes down. Like my competitiveness overall just goes down. Like during COVID, I realized that I was like, I need to do something. Yeah. So first race back, I realized that I got really anxious, and that was something that I had to battle. I'm still kind of currently battling, is like pre-race anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And that has really put a damper on a lot of like fun I can have before a race and just getting the mindset right. Because I get to the point where my stomach hurts, my heart starts racing really loud. Like the last Hyrox I did, I think my heart rate was like in the 160s before the race even started. I was sitting in the start corral at 160. I was like, something's off.
Yeah, it's like panic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think after COVID, not having all of that competition for almost 2 years, which is really detrimental to a lot of people, and it affected people differently. And I noticed pre-race anxiety was something that popped up for me because I was overly excited to race. But
yeah, are there any tools you use right now to help you get through that, or anything that you're personally doing or working on? Because pre-race anxiety is very common. So is there anything that you found that helps you right now?
So I actually, the funny thing is I'll turn on 80s music and I'll just blast 80s music and just get like happy and just like start jumping around, just singing it as loud as possible, just to just get like calm. And I think that really helps me. And then I get into the start corral and I'm like, just have, Madonna playing in my head, just rocking out,
Yeah.
But I think that's something that's really helped me more than anything else, is just getting good music playing prior.
Yeah. That's what I do. Like, especially before, like, I'm much more of a strength athlete at this point. My endurance has definitely gone out the window, and now 9 months pregnant. I mean, I'm not a strength athlete that much either, but
No.
but for me, something that I really, really struggled with strength was I would get into my head so bad before a max out.
Yeah.
I would completely psych myself out. I was stuck on a 300-pound deadlift for forever, because I would put 300 pounds on the bar and then freak out. And something I started doing was actually putting on like music scores that were calm, or like classical music.
Yeah.
And I would just tell myself that the weight on the bar was something else. I would just be like, it's something else. It's something else. You got this. It's fine. It's just 275. And I would just like zone myself out. And now it's so funny because like I'll go up to do a max attempt and people will be like, why are you so calm? And I'm like, I mean, I am, but I'm also freaking out. But like, I'm just trying to keep my head focused on visualizing this lift being successful. And like, I'll listen to the strangest stuff just to like keep myself, because if I hype myself up too much, I find sometimes I get like overly hyped.
Yeah. I don't think there's any such thing as overly hyped before a max out. Like, I think that's the best thing possible.
I like fuck up though. I think I just get like too excited, or like, I don't know. I pull too fast. I pull sumo. So it's like, No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But that's been mine is music, but almost more before something else like a Hyrox. Like I'll definitely get myself pumped up, but I just think it's funny, like the way music can pull you out of a situation or help you moderate your heart rate or just get your head out of your ass, kind of like when you need it to get out of there.
Yeah.
There's magic to it.
There is, and it's a fine line between like if I'm listening to EDM before a race, my heart rate's going to skyrocket. But if I'm listening to like classical music or 80s music, I'm like, all right, it's like down in the 60s. I'm like, I feel great right now. Yeah, I just bopping around.
I gotta try 80s music. I do. I usually do like really like cheesy power metal if I'm not like this the cheesiest, the absolute cheesiest. Because it just makes me giggle.
Yeah, you gotta love that stuff. Anything that's like takes your mind off of what you're about to do. That's I think that's the music that you need to listen to. But like before I max out, I'm listening to anything that's gonna make me angry. That's gonna make me want to punch a wall. Like I just need something to get me my testosterone flowing and just hype.
Yeah, that's there are some days where like a whole training session, I'll just be listening to like metal or something because I'm like, if this turns off, I'm going home.
Yeah.
But
I actually walked into the gym the other day and my headphones died immediately, and I was like, I can't do this. Like this is terrible.
Well,
I gotta go home
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've done that. I actually have 2 pairs. I have an emergency backup pair in my truck that are like super cheap. But like just in case you ever get that like doot, 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 and it dies in one ear, and then you can kind of hear the gym music, which is always terrible.
It's terrible. It's the worst. This is why I have these. These are great because they don't die.
Smart. Girl clothes don't have pockets, so
that's fair.
I don't know what to do with the.
I get it.
That's why my phone is like the craziest case because I literally just throw it on the floor constantly. I'm that person. But no, so like, all right, 80s music pre, and then angry music. What's your like go-to kind of want to blast your testosterone through the roof and drag your opponent out of a ring in 4 seconds? Like go-to song.
Go-to song. That would be. It's hard to explain. It's like there's no words to the song. It's called. Let me just pull it up real quick. It's called. It's called. I know. I just listened to it. Phoenix Rising by Callum Graham. So it's just a musical essentially. Like it's almost like you're running through the woods and you're like going to go to war and you're like, this is my pump up song. I listened to it yesterday when I was doing bench press. And I don't typically get nervous when I do bench press or anything because I'm good at it. I've always done it my entire life for football. And I was like, okay, let's see what I can do for 315. Like the most I've ever gotten in recent history is 3. I was like, let's see what I feel like. And I got underneath it and I put 3 up pretty easy. I was like, okay, let's go to 4. And I did 4 and I was like, let's go to 5. And that song was playing the entire time. I was like, okay, we're going to stop at 5. I don't want to go any further. And I was like, all right. So I feel good right now. I feel strong. So
that's awesome.
I just need to start dialing back my strength because I don't need all that strength for Hyrox.
That's the kicker, isn't it? It's like, I loved your comment about the sled though. Like my first ever Hyrox race, I think was in 2021. And I remember thinking like, the sled's going to be no big deal. Like the sled's going to be fine. And it wasn't hard, but I totally underestimated how much of an aerobic endurance machine I was going to have to be to push that sled and recover as fast as I needed to stay competitive, or pull the sled and recover simultaneously. Cause I was like, this is the heaviest sled I've ever touched in my life. I don't understand why.
It shocks you.
Yeah.
Like if you try to push it the full length, you're smoked the rest of the race. You're like, how do I do this? And that was my first mistake in my first race was I pushed it as far as I could go without stopping. And as soon as I went to run again, I was like, I feel like a baby deer. Like this is terrible.
Yeah. You're like, wow, I don't have legs.
Yeah.
They come back.
And my first race was going up. I don't know if you know who Dylan Scott is.
Yeah. The raccoon.
My first race was going up against him. Yeah, the raccoon. But he was unknown at that point. It was his first race. It was my first race. And I was like, there's no way this skinny kid's going to beat me in a sled push. And he held with me the entire time on the sled. I was like, am I this weak or is he that strong?
Yeah.
And we just kept like passing each other, going back and forth. And we both got off the sled pretty much at the same time, but he has more fresh legs than I do because I was overexerting. I didn't realize what I was doing, trying to keep up with him. And from that moment forward, I was like, okay, there's got to be a method to the madness in the sled push. Don't push it all out. Take 10 steps, rest 5 seconds, take 10 steps, rest 5 seconds. Just kind of give your body that chance to recover.
Yeah.
But that's all it is, just practice. You just got to do it over and over until you get good at it.
Yeah. And to your point about like just trying to race a certain amount of times a year, I'd imagine just with the pacing of Hyrox, like just being in the game over and over and over throughout the year probably helps you so much where you're like, okay, last race went this way. I'm going to change my strategy or I'm going to do this differently. You know, if you don't have that experience behind you, every race feels like your first race.
Yeah, it truly does. And you have to do it. Like I go into races sometimes with people that are brand new, like I've never done a Hyrox before. I was like, just pace yourself up until the row, and after the row, that's when you want to start like kicking it into gear. And they don't listen to them. They go out hot. They push the sled as fast as they can. You never see them again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love these. That's always what I tell people. I'm like, the race starts at the row. Like it starts at the row. You have to survive until the row and have something left. Because then after that, you really can open up. Like it's just you just row and then you've got a carry, lunges, and wall balls.
Yeah.
Like anyone can do those if they have legs left.
Yeah, you just have to stay with who you're competing against, because if you're going into the row with someone you're competing against and you're more fresh, you're going to win. Like Absolutely. that's how Kris took over in the World Championship last year or 2 years ago, whatever year it was. But she held on, she stayed within reach of everybody, and then she passed everyone on the lunges. Just like what just happened. Yeah.
Yeah, her legs were used to 100 miles, you know, and 8K, they were like, what?
Yeah.
We're warmed up now.
She's like, oh, we're running now. Okay, great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I love about just the dramatic mix of athletes we're seeing coming together and like their strengths. That's why like Jacoby and Weeks and I mean, just all these women that are coming into the field, they have drastically different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And just seeing the different ways that they handle racing. I was there and Jacoby broke the record, which was hysterical. Because she like broke the record and I was like newly pregnant. I think I was 8 weeks when I was racing and I had to pee so bad. So like I run into the bathroom off course. I'm racing. Like I'm in the race, but I have to pee so bad. So I like go into this bathroom and I'm like, thank God it's empty. And Meg Jacoby comes out of the stall and she literally just set the world record. And I'm like,
you're like
race. I'm like right now. Literally right now. I'm gonna go pee though.
I've had that situation in the middle of a race where I had to use the restroom and I was like, I can't stop. Like I was halfway through the last Hyrox accident. I had like stomach issues. I was like, I can't stop though, because there was no bathroom on course.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang it, this is going to be rough. So I think it started hitting me at the rower and I was like, I need to finish this as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And
it's either motivation or it's crushing.
Yeah, it was painful. I was like, that was the most pain I've been in trying to use the restroom in a long time. I was like, man, this is tough.
It's hard. And knowing that not only do you not really have, not all the courses have restrooms. I was super lucky that this one had one I could sneak like out the back.
Yeah.
But like, you only have an hour.
Yeah.
So in your head, you're like, I can hold it. I last an hour.
You think you can
until you
get to the wall balls.
Yeah. And your whole body's like, fuck you.
I could have swore the whole time I was on the wall balls, I was like, I'm going to have an accident and everyone's going to see it. And it's going to be blown up on Hyrox media everywhere.
You know what? You'll just be famous like all those marathoners. It's fine.
I want to be famous, but I don't want to be famous for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you're like, infamy is cool, but I'd rather not complete this. But yeah, the day that Meg broke the world record in LA, I remember just giggling watching her do it because like She was by herself for the entire race. Like
No one was around her.
no one. No, there was no one else really there. Like that, Lauren wasn't there. There weren't any of the other like heavy hitter women because it was like the last race of the season. She was just by herself.
Yeah.
By herself on the rower. Lauren Rentala actually was damn close. She got on the rower while Meg was on the rower, but then Meg got like right off.
Yeah.
And it was just still just all Meg, and it was insane. It was just the coolest. I remember just laughing because it didn't really make any sense. And then I was laughing even more because I was so slow. So this was the slowest race I've ever done in my life. And it's like immediately after she set the rover.
Yeah. You're like, well, I'm slow now, but this person is faster than anybody in the world. So
Yeah.
you're like, I want to be like her.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, just need to like have this baby, train for probably 10 years, and then maybe no, it's fine. I'll run eventually, but
yeah,
eventually. I have so much respect for you guys that are over 200 pounds, by the way.
it is rough. Being over 200 is rough.
I just crested. I just broke the barrier for the first time in my life, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm so heavy.
I get it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's so I'm more of a fast twitch athlete too. And so you put me on a mile, I can get close to sub 5. I've broken 5 a couple times in my life at
Impressive.
215, 220.
Okay.
You put me in a 5K and I start dying after 2 miles. Like after 2 miles, I'm like, I'm fading fast. Yeah. But that's the heavier weight. But if I can get down to 210, 205, that doesn't happen. I don't fade as fast.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to get back down to for Hyrox is about 210, 215. Gives me 20 pounds to lose pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, it does make a huge difference as someone who just rapidly gained 30. Yeah. It's
I put the weight on. I've been having a lot of issues losing it. Like I don't know why. It's very hard for me to drop the weight.
Is it lean mass mostly? Because you look lean.
Yeah, a lot of lean mass. I started taking Strength X2 with Builder, and it's changed my body significantly. I've started getting more lean because all it is citrulline and creatine.
Yeah.
And it has changed me drastically. I've gotten significantly stronger. Because I get stronger, I'm like, oh, I want to lift more now. Mm-hmm. So I lift more and it's making me beefier. And I'm like, dang it, I just need to like cut back on that. Yeah. But it's a great product to lean out and just like change your overall body shape. But I'm personally not focusing on running and biking as much as I should. So I know once I start focusing back on that, it'll change my body in the opposite direction that I have been here recently.
Or at least level it out. Like I feel like if you're just introducing more aerobic work, your body composition will reflect that. Hopefully you won't lose that top end strength, or you won't lose as much of it. I don't know, it'd be cool. I'm curious to see.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to put on weight for Hybricon games too, because I knew it was going to be a heavyweight fight. Like there were hints that it was just, there weren't going to be reps. It was just going to be one-on-one, kind of like Broken Skull Challenge was. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, if it's going to be something like that, I need to put on weight because I'm going to be going head to head with someone, and just, it's going to be me versus them. It's not going to be like reps where I'm going to have to run and do reps and run and do reps and stuff like that. But I'm glad I put on the weight when I did, because if I didn't put on the weight, I think Aston would have dragged me across the field.
or at least on those tires, like, you would have been like 2 seconds slower or whatever it was. But still though, I just cannot believe that you guys, so for those who don't know, I was helping Matt Stevens with the scores, and the tiebreaker for the tires was the time at which the tire hit vertical. So every single judge, there were 2 judges on each athlete with the tires, and one person would shout when the tire went vertical, and that was our tie break. The tie break was supposed to be the second tire, but Kaleb and Aston, you guys flipped the tires at the exact same seconds from the second tire to the third tire to the fourth tire, and the only difference was the time it took to flip the first tire. And that's what you said earlier, like that was the tie break. And I remember you came over and you were like
2 seconds, and I was 3.
Yeah. You came over and you were like, well, shit.
Like,
Damn
well,
it.
you got me. Can't really argue
So
that.
Matt and I were like, how are we gonna do this? Like, holy, literally, if you guys had flipped the first one at the same time, I don't know what we would have done, because every other one was matched up to the second. I mean, it would have been great to have a timing
Just
match.
been a rock, paper, scissors. Just rock, paper, scissors, me and Aston. I would have done it. I'm terrible at it, but I still would have done it.
You know, when all else fails. So that's awesome. No, it's really cool to hear that you're just gonna kind of move into the multi-day event space. I'm super excited. I've signed up for Rally because I'm insane.
I
But
think we're all insane for doing that. You know, Matt's going to put on a great event. I'm looking forward to it.
I heard nothing but good things about last year, and just working with him as a judge at Hybricon, I was like, all right, Rally's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked for that. I'm happy I'll see you there. You'll see me probably die, but it's fine.
With an extra on your hip.
I know. He was like, you better bring that baby. I'm like, okay. But no, I'm stoked you're going to keep doing these multi-day events, because I think it was just, you clearly excel at them. But just to know that you're also having just a ton of fun at them is, I don't know, it's really important. This is
and it's not monotonous like Hyrox or DEKA or Spartan is. Like, it's the same thing with those, but with 2-day events, you're like, I don't know what's about to get thrown at me. And that kind of brings me back to the military days, where you're like, you wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't know what today's about to hold. Like, am I gonna get my shit kicked in? Am I gonna have an easy day? Like, what's gonna happen? You just never know. So that's why I like the 2-day events. They're a lot. When you leave the event, you're like, that was life changing. Like, that was a lot of fun. That was the most fun I've had in years. So
just like bonding with your fellow athletes who also don't know what's going to happen. Like, just making those friendships and those connections with people. I call it trauma bonding, but like, all of you
I can see that.
No, I love it. I think it's rare. I think that as a very well-rounded athlete, we truly get exposed to things that we are really terrible at. I think it's so important for development and to keep the sport fun and to keep you engaged in it in a development sense, is just to like jump into something, find new weaknesses because you've been exposed to new problems, and then you can bring that back to your training or not. But I find that part of it so fun, because you're just like, wow, I sucked at that, or like, I didn't think that was going to challenge me half as much as it did. You know, how can I be better prepared for the next time something like this happens? I think that process is just the coolest.
What I truly like enjoy about it too is like the whole weekend, like me and Isaiah and some of the bigger guys asked, and we were like, what do we need to do to get Jake off the first place spot? Like, what do we need? Like, we're like, they're strategizing on who needs to do better at this certain event to move them back a certain amount. Like, on the last little bit of the obstacle course, I was like, okay, me, Cole, and Isaiah are going to make it through this. We're very like proficient at obstacle course racing, but how many people are going to make it to the end and, you know, kick Jack off the top spot? We're like, okay, he made it. Okay, that's 4, that's 5. So you're like counting it up each time, and like, okay, that moves him off the podium, but where does that leave me now? So you're constantly like doing this math in your head, like, where does it leave me? And then when someone came up to me at the very end, they go, congratulations. I was like, what? You got, and they're like, you got second. I was like, how did that happen? And it was just one of those things where you don't realize what's going to happen until the very end. You know, Jack couldn't get anchors away, and that's what moved him behind.
That's why I like the scoring. It's like CrossFit style, right? Where it's like your place is your score. I really like that, because it rewards non-specialists. It rewards athletes who are just really friggin' well-rounded and did really well and enough to have that low score. And it's cool.
Like me and Phil, we both bombed the run. Like, I think he got 14th, I got 17th. Like, we both did terrible in the run, but stayed consistent throughout the weekend. I don't think he had any first place finishes in anything, but he was top 5 in everything. But that's what it is. It rewards consistency. It rewards just being a well-rounded athlete. And I think that's what I liked the most about it.
Like, that's the big check mark for a competition. I'm like, okay, like, it played out exactly like it said it wanted to. It actually worked out that way.
Exactly.
No, that's rad. That's so cool. So if someone wants to follow you, you know, on Instagram, or just follow your competitive happenings.
Mhm.
What is your Instagram handle? Obviously, I'll put it in the caption.
Yeah.
And is there any other way they can reach you? Like, I don't know if you have a builder coder or something like that. Is it all in your bio, etc.? Talk me through it.
Yeah, so my Instagram is kaleb.yates.fitness. If you want to follow me and you want to kind of get up on board with Builder too, I'm head of sales right now with Builder and
Awesome.
in-house programming or McIntyre Media. So we're going to be doing something where we're going to start doing programming for affiliate gyms, like any gyms that want to use Hunter's programming. We're going to be using it and trying to sell it to the gyms as well.
Yeah.
Um, for his program, like he's going to program the gym for Hyrox. And builder sales as well. So if you want to get builder supplements, whether it be Strength X2, Hydro, or Pre when it comes out, reach out to me. I can get you a discount code. We can get you set up with that as well.
That's awesome.
And if you want, just if it was just you wanting to purchase a tub of builder, then just reach out to me. I can get you a discount code. And it's one of the best products I've ever taken. I'm sold on it. Even before I started working for him, I was like, I'm sold on this product. It's changed how I go into events. Like for Starvation Triathlon, I had an entire tub of builder the entire race. Like it was do you know anything about the Starvation, how it kind of went?
I watched on the the live stream of you guys, but I don't know
Yeah.
any details.
Yeah, so it was a 2.5 mile like dark swim, open water dark swim, then a 100-mile bike with 10,000 feet of gain, and then a 26-mile run with 8,000 feet of gain.
Yeah, it was not
So
flat.
yeah, so every hour I was downing one scoop of builder, and I felt incredible all the way up to like the very end of the run. I made it 17 and a half miles into the run, and I ended up having to back out because my body shut down. But I ran out of nutrition and hydration 4 miles into the run. So I went 13 miles without nutrition and hydration, and that's what
The
crushed me.
end of a
Yeah,
Hybricon. Yeah. I've told Hunter a couple of times, like I love the fact that builder, the sodium amount in builder is actually enough per
yeah,
serving. Like there's so many products out there that claim to be hydration beverages and they have like 70 grams of sodium. Um,
yeah,
no, not for an
yeah.
athlete of your
It's
size, not for an athlete of anyone's. Like the actual dosing of it is actually appropriate. And then the fact that it does have BCAAs is actually really cool. I know they got poo-pooed a lot in the strength space, but they're so friggin' effective for endurance athletes who have to be
yeah,
taking in so many carbs. Getting BCAAs in with your hydration to me is just like
it's
this.
very important.
It's this incredible insurance that you're getting actually what you need during your workout, because we all know like after an endurance event sometimes you're not very hungry at all. Um,
Yeah,
so it's just, I don't know, I think it's brilliant. So I'm actually stoked to not be, but preaching again. I don't know if you picked up on the fact that I'm over it, but
yeah,
um
I get
but
it.
again, like I'm curious about trying that other product that actually sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I have a lot of building to do, so hopefully it'll work for me the same way it worked for you.
Hmm.
I'll hold you to
Yeah,
it.
I've taken it for about 2 months now, and I've seen just my overall athletic performance drastically improve. And I was like, what's going to be this next thing that's going to get me there? And taking this like daily, like it's just your morning coffee. You take it every morning right before you go work out, and it changes the rest of your day. Because you feel better throughout the day because that citrulline, just it just pumps your body full of the blood that's needed because it vasodilates your body, and it just gets everything moving. You're like, okay, I'm wide awake now, and it's changed how I feel. And if there's anybody out there who else is taking it, I'm sure that you can talk to them and be like, hey, how's this making you feel? And they'll say the exact same thing.
Yeah,
Like it's incredible how it made me feel.
it's been cool too. Like for me at least, like reading about brain health and like all that kind of stuff. The benefits for your brain from creatine.
Yeah,
It's like there's actually studies out there showing that may even help with preventing Alzheimer's and dementia. That's insane. Like it's just, creatine's one of those things where I'm like, if you don't have a medical problem that prevents you from taking it, why are you not taking it? Like,
yeah,
so knowing that you
yeah.
guys have it packaged with a vasodilator is actually really cool. Like,
Hmm.
just a really cool way to look at a single everyday dose of something and put it together. So yeah, I will have to try it. As soon as
Yeah.
I'm allowed to.
Yeah. Just have Alex start taking it for a little bit and just see what happens.
Oh yeah, I know. Throw it at him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's been the funniest thing because you know how guys always say they like gain weight while their girlfriends are pregnant or their wives are pregnant. Like
Mhm.
he's only gotten leaner.
So you're just like, dang it.
I'm like, dude, like our body weights are going like this. I'm like, no.
You're getting closer to it. You're like, I'm weighing as much as you now.
Yeah. Like you better not go sub 230. Like I will smack you. But yeah,
That's so funny.
oh god, I will definitely bring it up to him though because I know he's taking a lot of these things separately.
Yeah.
It's cool that you guys packaged it together. So I'll bring it up because it's something that I definitely need to start taking ASAP. I'll have to
Yeah.
read.
Yeah. And I'm sure Hunter wouldn't mind, sending him a tub to try out or anything, because I mean he was on the podcast a little bit ago and they kind of hit it off. So I was like, that might work out. So
We love Hunter.
yeah, Hunter's a good guy. Everybody
Yeah.
hates him for whatever reason because he talks shit and he's an
Yeah.
asshole to people, but he's genuinely the nicest person you'll ever meet in your life. He'll do whatever it takes to make something happen for you if you're the kind of person he likes. So
Yeah, Hunter was the reason
I
I
appreciate
got
his
into the
friendship.
Spartan games. And
Yeah.
he knew it was super last minute for me. So he let me come up and train with him for a day. And just the nicest guy. Like definitely like Dennis the Menace vibes.
Oh,
But
without a
like
doubt. He's definitely more menace.
yeah. But in a very, very lovable way once you realize you're like, oh shit, like he's legit. If he wants you to succeed, you're gonna like
Yeah.
you're
Like
gonna
he'll push you to being successful. Like I've gone to his training camps a lot, and it's a beat down. Like if you're there for a week, you're beat down. I was there for almost 3 months, a couple years back, and I left training camp in the best shape I've ever been in, but I left overtrained. Like I was very overtrained leaving it. So I went into a Hyrox Chicago, the North American Championships, and it was the worst race I'd ever done because I was so overtrained because I didn't know how to train with him at the time.
yeah.
Like his easy pace is my hard pace. So
Mhm.
I was just trying to keep up with him on every run, every workout. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not getting rest. And I know better now.
Yeah.
But he'll push you to succeed. He'll get you up every morning and say, hey, we're going running right now. Get your shoes on. Let's go. And I'm like,
Get your
all
shit
right.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And he'll be the one to go, all right, well, do you want to be successful? Shut the fuck up and do it. And I think it's
Yeah.
that mindset sometimes where people are like, well, that's mean. And you're like, but he's not wrong.
Yeah, like he'll shoot you straight. He'll tell you exactly what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I needed to hear that though. So
Yeah. I needed this today. I'm gonna go
yeah.
cry about it, but I'm happy you said it.
You just go in the bathroom and start crying. He's like, that guy was really mean to me, but he's so right.
I know. How did you see my one weakness? Oh, that's rad. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for, including that at the end. So I'll put all that information in there.
Okay.
And yeah, any way that we can support you and Builder and you guys at all, just let me know. It's all fun.
Yeah.
I love it. And
absolutely.
Hunt is like old school, like awesome. He's just been in the field doing cool stuff for so long. I just love to support him. So yeah, let me know.
He's got more experiences than most athletes that I know. Like he's done it all. And it's just like, this is the guy, if you want to be the best, you got to like be around the best. And I truly believe he's the best at anything he puts his mind to. Yeah. So it's like, you want to be in that same mindset.
Yeah. I'm so impressed by him too. Like I know this is like becoming the Hunter fan club, but like it's very common in the hybrid space, at least on my side, where it's not the Hyrox DEKA competitive space. It's more of the like training by yourself, people doing like the 5-5-5 challenge or similar challenges where it's very much like your barbell and your whatever, or like they'll set a challenge where they run a 10K by themselves. It's a different level to me to throw yourself out into a competitive field in a sport that you're not comfortable in. So like to see him jump into Ironmans and to just do the starvation triathlon, and choose to put himself in that competitive environment instead of just being like, I'm just gonna,
stick to one thing.
I want to do a triathlon with my buddies out in the desert or whatever. He actually let himself race against people and see himself on a leaderboard, and then he did it again and they did it again. Like that I think is so respectable because it can get so easy to to think that you're really cool. And then the second you go compete in a sport with specialists, you're like, oh my God, I am slow. I am like no good at that. Like just having that sort of ego check, I think is so fundamental to athletic growth and being like, wow, there are people busting ass at this sport and I am brand new. I am a baby. I have so much to learn and so much room for improvement. And that's the cool part.
Yeah.
That's the exciting part. And I love seeing him just jump in. Like I respect that so much because it's so easy to not and just stay in your little bubble where you're the coolest.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the growth side of it all, like starvation triathlon. That was my very first triathlon ever.
Oh, good.
Like I decided to sign up for the hardest one.
Of course.
And it unfortunately became my very first ever like DNF.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is going to change the way I see things moving forward. And the day after that race, I signed up for it again for next year. Like I'm like, I'm going to come back a completely different person and better athlete, and I'm going to finish it next year. I'm going to get that black shirt. But yeah, you put yourself into situations that make you evolve past what you currently are. Like there are people that didn't do Hybricon games because they didn't want to do the swim because they're not good swimmers. It's like, learn to swim. It's not that hard. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's
just go and fail and have fun and realize that you should probably learn. Like
exactly. You gotta put yourself out there. You can't just stick in your little bubble and say like, this is me. I'm a hybrid athlete. I'm like, this is what I'm good at. It's like, be a hybrid athlete, do things that are challenging. Like do things that you've never done before. There's a lot of Hyrox competitors out there that have never done a triathlon.
Yeah.
But it's
or a 10K
it's commendable for people who do that stuff. But I mean, I'm not taking away anything from those people that are strictly Hyrox or strictly DEKA or anything, but have fun with your life, have fun with training, and have fun with competing. Just do things that aren't typical of what you typically do. You know, I'm by no means a runner, but I'll go out and do a half marathon or a marathon or an ultra any day because it tests you mentally. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like about those types of races, just the mental challenge of it all. Yeah. I was not ready for starvation by any means. I had like a month and a half to prepare. Kyle and Hunter like, hey, you should come do this race with me. I was like, okay, cool. So I went out and bought a bike because I didn't have a bike. So
there's like,
let's do it. Yeah. So I did that and I was like, let's do it. Let's see how far I get.
Yeah.
And I know now I have to make it past 17.5 miles next year.
Yeah.
And if I make it past 17.5 miles next year, I finish.
Yeah.
Like that's my goal, is to finish that race.
You'll be better prepared. You'll bring 2 tons of water and more food.
Exactly.
It's true. Preparation is king with those things. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm super excited I got to chat with you. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for everything. And yeah, I'm just stoked to see what you do over the next year and all the different events you're clearly going to go do. That's just rad. So thank you so much. And
absolutely.
I'm going to hit that stop record button.
Awesome.